So let's talk about prayer. Specifically, let's talk about those times when you are pouring your heart out, but it feels like you're just waiting for an answer that seems like it's never going to come. I know it's a frustrating place to be, but what we're going to see is that this period of waiting, it's far from empty. It's actually where some of the most profound work of faith really happens.
Have you ever been there? I think we all have. You've got this deep, constant need, and you bring it to God day after day, week after week, but the silence can be, well, it can be deafening. And it's so easy to lose heart, right? To start wondering, am I even being heard? That feeling of spiritual fatigue is so real, and it's exactly what we're going to get into today.
You know, what's so interesting is just how universal this struggle is. The source material for this explainer shares this incredibly personal story of battling addiction. Picture it, night after night, feeling that shame, failing again, but never, ever stopping the prayer for strength. It wasn't some instant fix, not at all. It was this cycle of stumbling and getting right back up to pray again. And that persistence, that absolute refusal to give up even in the middle of failure, that's what led to freedom. It's just a powerful, powerful testament to not giving up.
And you know, this very struggle is the whole reason Jesus told a specific story, a parable you can find in the book of Luke. He knew we would face this feeling of wanting to throw in the towel, and he wanted to teach us something absolutely crucial: how to pray and not lose heart.
Okay, so the story is about this persistent widow and a completely unjust judge. I mean, this judge, as you can see here, he couldn't care less about God or other people. He's just a bad guy. But this widow, she just kept showing up, demanding justice. She was relentless, and eventually the judge gives in, basically just to get her to leave him alone. And this is where Jesus makes this brilliant point. If a corrupt, uncaring judge will finally respond to someone who won't quit, how much more will a just, loving God respond to the cries of his own children? See, it's not about wearing God down, it's about understanding how good his character really is.
And Jesus makes this idea even more direct, right here in Matthew. He doesn't say, ask once and then just wait quietly. No. He uses these active, continuous verbs. Keep on asking, keep on seeking, keep on knocking. It's an invitation to a persistent, ongoing conversation. He is literally telling us, don't you dare give up.
Okay, so let's move on, because this isn't just a concept from one little story. The entire Bible, the whole narrative, is just filled with stories of people who had to wait, who had to keep knocking, and who, in the end, saw a breakthrough. I mean, just look at this. You can see all these different scales of waiting. You've got Abraham and Sarah, who waited for years for their promised son. Then there's Hannah, who prayed year after year through so much pain before she finally had Samuel. And Daniel, he prayed and fasted for 21 days, only to find out later his prayer was heard on day 1. The answer was just delayed by a spiritual battle. And then you have the Syrophoenician woman who in a single encounter refused to be turned away, and because of her bold faith, saw her daughter healed right then and there. The situations are all different, but the pattern is exactly the same: persistent faith.
So, this brings us to the big question, doesn't it? If God is good and he hears us, what's with the delay? What is actually happening in those pauses, in that silence while we wait?
Yeah, let's think about Daniel's story again. An angel literally tells him, from the very first day, your words were heard. The prayer was heard immediately. So why the 21-day wait? Why the silence? It's a really frustrating question. But the answer shows us that the waiting period isn't empty at all. It actually has a profound purpose. Okay, so this is the crucial point. The delay isn't a sign that God is doing nothing. It's actually a season for our formation. That waiting period, that's where our faith gets stretched way beyond what's comfortable. It's where we learn to trust his character and his timing, not just the outcome we want. And so often, it's in that space of uncertainty that God reveals parts of himself that we would have totally missed if the answer came instantly. Knowing all of this really reframes everything, doesn't it? It's not just a call to somehow endure the waiting, it's an empowering call to actively persist in prayer, now that we're armed with a new understanding of what's happening behind the scenes. You know, this really gets to the heart of it all. A faith that asks once and then just walks away if the door doesn't immediately swing open, well, that's a fragile faith. But a faith that keeps knocking, a faith that stays at the door believing that the one on the other side is good, that is the kind of resilient, persistent faith that the Bible celebrates from beginning to end. And here it is. This is the ultimate reassurance. The reason we can keep knocking is because we have this promise. We are not waiting alone. He hasn't left. He hasn't forgotten about you. He is with you in the waiting, in the silence, and in the middle of the struggle. So why does your persistence matter so much?
Because every single time you choose to pray again, you're doing so much more than just repeating a request. You are declaring that you believe God is still capable. You're fighting the good fight for your faith against all that doubt. And you are connecting your story to this much bigger story, trusting that the same God who answered Abraham and Hannah after years of waiting is the exact same God you're talking to right now.
And this is the question Jesus leaves us with, right after telling that parable about the persistent widow. And man, it is a challenging, thought-provoking question. He isn't asking if he'll find people who believe he exists. He's asking if he will find this kind of faith, the persistent, the resilient, the never-give-up kind of faith. And it's a question that really leaves us to think about the depth and the endurance of our own.